Hello, I'm Joshua, and I'm an INTP. And first and foremost, I would like to say thank you for viewing this video and subsequently visiting my channel. The topic of this video will be on pessimism. And the reason I'd like to speak about pessimism is because I think, given just the day and age in which egalitarianism, optimism, and positivity, and also path pathology and neurosis and psychology have become very strong centers for epistemological analysis, or yeah, I guess just very strong centers of epistemological anchoring and means and tools for analyses of temperamental variances in people and for judging and determining the value and utility of certain attitudes and behaviors. It's come to my attention that pessimism certainly is something that's misunderstood from the philosophical standpoint, and it's something that is being bastardized on a larger frontier just merely because of the extroversion, optimistic bias within the Western hemisphere. It's to say this, that people fundamentally are concerned with the negative and tumultuous aspects of existence because I think for two reasons. One, we're evolved things, and if you're an animal living in a world that can kill you, if you have no reason to be worried, if you have no reason to be sad or afraid or angry, you won't survive. I mean, you just won't survive because there'll be no seed of motivation for your action against things that would come against your existence. You would not get out of the way. You wouldn't move or even begin to harm something that's harming you if you did not have a salient system for negative items and properties out in the world. You have to care if you're going to exist. You have to have some negativity. You have to have a devil to be something of a motivational creature that can act on the world. So that's the first reason. The second reason is this: that though we have the ability to be rather conscious, active thinking creatures, things that can act on an environment, we have the capacity to be aspirational and to abstract for whatever reason, because we can reference our own selves within now and the future and the past. We have a concept such as time, and we can observe that we're very much finite and limited, essentially that we're going to die, that we're vulnerable to pain and suffering, that we can fail, or we're not like some other individual who has a very shining and dawning trait that makes us feel rather inferior in our own stature and makeup. It's these things that tend to be the pangs of a social existence, in the sense that we're social creatures, and in the sense that we're also creatures that are aspirational, in the sense that we're motivationally animated. We're only animated to be and to exist because of our drives and what we want, what we hunger, what we thirst for, what we covet, and what we want to become. That's what makes us living, in the sense that we want to act and be any kind of agency. Those things have their tremendous multiplicity, but within the tremendous multiplicity of them exists the very roots of pessimism. Everything has the capacity in a certain sense, because we're, sorry, I'm trying not to be distracted, but it's just pessimism comes from the fact that there are negative aspects to reality, and that if you're not an individual, I think that's not very well, at least for whatever reason, you're a strange creature. If you're like me, you're a very strange creature in the sense that you cannot compartmentalize things as well as other people seem to be able to compartmentalize things about the world. You know that there's just as much dreary and drab aspects of reality as there are positive ones. But you see it so much today that the dark, the tragic, the horrific, and terrifying aspects of reality are hidden, are shunned, are swept under the rug, and are not rightfully considered to such a degree that any individual could achieve something that they really wanted, that they could be more prone to achievement, period, or that they could be great. We don't like really care for greatness or great individuals, it seems, in this age of egalitarianism. But I'll tell you, pessimism is certainly the right, I would say, philosophical lens to view certain aspects of reality. For the mere fact that if you want to do something that's fairly daunting in the sense that you want to undertake a tremendous task, you very well better realize you're going to suffer and it's going to hurt. Because if you don't realize and accept those things, you're probably going to quit. Because you're probably not going to make it such that you have a system or a means of overcoming those things. If you never concede to the fact that there are some obstacles in the world that are fairly significant that need to be dealt with, you're never gonna deal with them. Meaning that you're not. Maybe it's not that you're never gonna deal with them, but it's gonna be unlikely that you're going to deal with them, which makes it much more unlikely that you're ever going to reach or achieve your goal. If you want a healthy relationship, you had better realize that that person's going to drive you insane to some extent. Or you have to realize that you have some maladaptive qualities to you. You have some malevolent characteristics to you. And if you care about that person, you had better keep them in check or monitor them to some extent and how they're causing you to interact in the landscape of the relationship. If you want to actually figure out how to establish some future for yourself, well, you have to say, I have these goals and I have these goals, and they're antithetical and competing with one another. A great example is women in the workplace. You have to know that if you want to have kids and you want to have an illustrious career, you're going to have to do some balancing act, or you're going to have to do some balancing act, and you're going to have to be very judicious, conscientious, and forthright in your decisions and your activities, because you don't have an infinite amount of time to get both right. And you also have to realize that if you're trying to send somebody to the moon, then you need to think of every potential problem and every kind of tragic, worst, climactic event that could happen, and essentially make it so that those things would not occur. You have to be a pessimist to some extent to achieve anything in this world. Because if you don't believe that there's any reason to get sad, you're probably not going to look for anything to be a sustaining factor of meaning. If you don't think that there is anything that could sink you, essentially, you're not going to make a fortress. If you don't think that you can lose, you're not going to make preventative measures, realistic strategies. If you don't, and I mean, I don't think that most people actually live like that functionally, but I do think that people are either overly optimistic and positive or completely apathetic. And apathy is not pessimism. I'll tell you that. I mean, it's not the same thing, because I mean, I'm pessimistic, but I have great joys in life, and I have a lot of fulfillment and meaning in the things that I choose to undertake for myself. But in order for me to get there, I certainly realized that there were certain existential items and qualities of existence that made my life a living hell for me as I was constituted as an individual. I can't have a normal job. I really know I can't. Or I can't have an entry-level job. I can't have any job that's predicated on that my success is predicated on anything other than my ability to be creative and to think. That's it. Like, I really can't do that. And if I'm not honest with myself, I probably would have killed myself a very much long time ago. Like, if you don't realize that there is some tragedy to life and you don't do anything such that you can overcome that tragedy, you're rolling the dice. You're really rolling the dice, because it's unlikely that you're going to go untouched throughout the entirety of your life. And you would like it such that you could live at least reasonably well, whether or not there's high times or there's low times. You would want it such that whenever you're sunken, you're not sunken to the depths of despair, and you would want it such that when you get high, you can mediate that kind of experience such that you don't run yourself off the rails or fly too close to the sun. The only way you can do that is to be pessimistic. Realism is just the merging of, in some sense, pragmatic ethicism. You do what makes sense given what you want and what life is. And pessimism is wholly necessary to that. But we live in a world that shuns sickness. It shuns sickness, hates failure, doesn't like old things, is terrified of death, is too immature to be serious about negative aspects and qualities of life. Not everything that's painful, not everything that's negative is toxic. God, that's a fucking euphemism I hate to hear. It's a toxic existence and whatever. I mean, you have to deal with the devil to some extent to be a saint. You have to live, you have to go through some hell to get to heaven. I mean, if you really want to be a real person, you're going to have to bleed to some extent. You're just going to have to bleed. And if that sounds overly dark or pessimistic, then good luck. Just good luck being a real person that doesn't come down with some pathology, that doesn't have to lie to themselves about who they are or what they feel or what they see in the world. Good luck in being able to sustain any imminent factor of meaning in your life. Good luck in being able to deal with your demons or to deal with the things that are hard for you to face. Good luck in having good character. Good luck, because you just don't want to be honest if you don't think that it doesn't make sense sometimes to be pessimistic. And there are certainly individuals that are more prone to be pessimistic than other individuals, but individuals who achieve things, get things done, have meaning in life are pessimistic. They have a pessimism to them. You have to, because you will not be able to withstand a winter. You will not be able to withstand the brunt of a storm. You won't be able to withstand anything if you don't see what's wrong with yourself, what could potentially go wrong with the world or others in it, and what's just tragic about life. If you can't see it, if you can't face it, you can't overcome it. And that's why I think so many people are not where they want to be in life. And I'm not somebody, and I'm not somebody who's overly concerned with I would say human affairs on the personal level, but this is something that's like fairly widespread and pervading within Western culture. So yeah, that's my video, and thank you for watching.